Hey everyone, Sean here, and today in this video I wanted to sit down and talk about Yoimiya, whether she is a good character or not, at least in my experience anyway. I've played with her for a good amount of days at this point, ever since I pulled her from the banner from day one. It took me a little while to get her leveled up all the way, since I didn't have all the materials I had in hand because of the Naku weed pretty much held me back from doing so. But anyway, at this point I do have her at level 80, which is usually the average that I have with my characters for right now. And even I will say this though, even at level 60 I was able to actually get a pretty good amount of damage with Yoimiya when she first was put into the one of my parties or teams anyway. So I kind of like used her just to for the sake of the stream, and I was actually able to hold up pretty well with Yoimiya, aside from her lower HP. And of course she does have lower defense, it seems like, overall as a whole. So she seems to be like more like a glass cannon in comparison to the other units. So you just have to be careful, and you just have like someone like Zhongli or any shield character to protect her. And Xingqiu would definitely not hurt for her composition to reduce like that damage from his skill. So anyway, we'll talk more about that a little bit. But anyway, I think Yoimiya overall is good. I think she's just another good DPS character, good all around. It doesn't offer anything too new to the table. I mean, her skill just powers her up with pyro damage. Well, not necessarily powering up per se, but it converts her normal attacks to pyro damage. So I guess that is something. You know, if you want to bring in that pyro damage, then you can definitely rock that skill. And I think pretty much she is going to be pretty much a machine gun to at least some extent. Her skill is something you're going to be utilizing more than her burst, it seems like, at least for my sort of style anyway. I'm tend to be more focused on her skill than her burst. I find her burst to be a little inconsistent at times with the marking. Where's the mark? Oh, I guess he's not considered nearby. Okay. So I don't really try to rely on it unless I am on cooldown with her skill, which is only like technically 7 seconds, because her skill does last a good amount of time. The mark, though, from her burst could last a little longer. I wish it did activate while she is on the field, as the description indicates that everyone but Yoimiya can activate the mark, meaning the firecracker explosion can happen with everyone else except for Yoimiya. When Yoimiya attacks, it's just kind of there. So it at first it didn't seem very enticing to have that as her burst, but you can definitely work around that pretty much by having like support bursts, like Xingqiu's rain swords, I think you call them, the fire ring that you can have with Xiangling, and also someone like Official with the Oz, right? If you stick Oz into the field, the turret, right? Anyone who actually has that sort of burst or skill can actually activate it for her, rather, since technically it's not her activating the mark. It's someone else technically. So that's how you get around that. So you can technically have Yoimiya on the field still, with even if you activate the burst, because otherwise what usually people do is just once the skill wears out and is on cooldown, you use the burst. Once you have the energy to do so, activate it and you switch to another character. That's usually how it goes, at least maybe in the beginning. But once you kind of figure it out with your team, you definitely don't have to do that as much. So what I do with Yoimiya is, for in terms of team composition, I of course I have Zhongli, I have Bennett, of course. Most importantly, you have Xingqiu, and then you can have, of course, Yoimiya as your main DPS. So what would that do is, of course, you provide a shield for Yoimiya, and then you can provide the extra attack boost from Bennett's ult, which especially if you have higher recharge on Bennett, you can definitely just constantly keep activating that burst that everyone loves from Bennett. And of course, Xingqiu, if you do the same thing with the high recharge, you can definitely activate his swords a lot more often. That's pretty much the key ingredient for the extra damage you can get when you're rocking Yoimiya with that skill. So once you have the swords out from Xingqiu, you switch over to Yoimiya, and then when you activate the skill from Yoimiya, and it's pretty much hydro and pyro damage, which equals to vaporize, which is also very good in comparison to melt. Of course, you can switch out Xingqiu for someone like a support built Ganyu or a Diona. Anyone who likes to put out support damage, you can definitely rock them with Yoimiya. So that's how you really do it, especially if their bursts do have that lingering damage. They can activate that mark, that firecracker mark. I forget what it was called. It was like the Aurorus mark or something like that, for Yoimiya pretty much. And so you don't have to really switch out Yoimiya even if you activate the burst. So you can even use that along with Sucrose. Sucrose likes to use the swirl along with that pyro, and it'll definitely equal to more fire damage or pyro damage, and it'll be a fun time. So I think there is some fun to be had with Yoimiya, but she is pretty much a basic DPS unit otherwise. But I did really like to pull her because of her aesthetics, her personality. I love her character design. So just from the looks alone was enough for me to able to pull her from the banner, even with the 50-50. So I was very happy with that. When it comes to like the weapons and stuff like that, the artifacts, right now I'm rocking the 2-piece witch, Crimson Witch, and the 2-piece gladiator for right now, just because I don't have a good full set for Crimson. I did earlier, but I figure I do have a better set when it comes to gladiator, so that's why I blended the two with the Crimson Witch and the gladiator for that extra attack. So right now, I believe she's around 2,000 or 2,200 at level 80, so which is pretty damn solid, I think, at least in my experience. And I can just shred the enemies when they're even at like level 90 or 95 or 88. Of course, that's like the probably common average in my world right now, or world level. I think it's at 6 right now. Can't really remember off the top of my head. But either way, Yoimiya is pretty good. I do like to use her on the field when it comes to just exploration and stuff like that. She is really good to just take out like just crowds of enemies, just to gun them down real quick with her for fire arrows, and of course with that extra little damage from either Xingqiu or anyone else really who can provide that extra support with the element and that supporting damage. So overall, I think she is definitely a good character. She could use some help either from her constellations or her teammates, of course, just like anyone else. So that is pretty much the gist of it. Oh yeah, so when it comes to the weapon, I almost forgot. I kind of digress. I am actually using the Rust bow right now. I haven't used that bow for a very long time. There was really no one to really utilize that bow until I figured it out with Yoimiya, since the sub effect or the effect of Rust is to increase normal attacks by 60%, which is very good for Yoimiya. So that's why she has that extra little juice in her attack stat, and so that really is good in the situation for right now. It does reduce her charge attack by 10%, I believe, which is when she does the the kindling arrows, which is the firecracker homing rockets, if you can call them, from her charge arrows. And so that's a pretty fun thing to use. I guess you can use that during her cooldown of her the fire arrows or whatever, the hitama or whatever it's called. I forget what it's called really, but Anyway, the when it's on cooldown and I feel like too lazy to switch around characters, I just go with the charge attack. Sometimes, you know, if I want to just put some pyro on some characters, I just use the charge arrow for those purposes. Also for exploration stuff, you know, when it comes to like hunting down like animals and little birds and stuff like that, they kind of do a good job, but sometimes they act a little goofy, and so I think the homing arrows need to get some patches, I think. But you know, that could be just me. Anyways, the rust bow otherwise is perfect for a starting weapon for Yoimiya. If you have a 5-star bow, you can definitely slap that onto Yoimiya for that extra oomph. But otherwise, if you have a rust bow that you will want to shake off the rust with, you can definitely slap that onto Yoimiya if you have her. You'll definitely get good mileage out of that one if you really want to juice up her attack stat in general, since, well, you can just juice up her attack and she'll convert that into pyro with her skill anyway, so you don't really need to like worry about pyro damage too much, but otherwise you can just throw that in there as well for the cup or the goblet, I think it's called. Although in the beginning, before I slapped the rust on Yoimiya, I actually started using the Viridescent Hunt, I think it's called. It's the green bow and arrow that you get from the battle pass, and that has the effect of activating a little small tornado for some CC, which works on small enemies, but it's whatever. And it does like what, 50% of the attack for damage, and it activates every 0.5 seconds or something like that. After a 50% chance or something like that. Either way, it shoots a small little tornado here and there. So I like the substat on it, which was crit rate at the time, but now I think I have decent crit rate from the substats from my artifacts, so that's why I switched over to Rust, which is overall much more suitable for Yoimiya. That is the gist of it anyway. Her crit damage and stuff like that are pretty good so far, from it looks like. Pretty straightforward, and I've been using her to go through the domains and stuff like that. I haven't used her for the Spiral Abyss just yet, but I don't really care about the Spiral Abyss too much for right now, so I'm just using her for more of the exploration stuff, and also dailies, and of course the domain stuff as well. I think she's just cool. I like her aesthetics. Her animations are cool, and you know, the whole, you know, rain swords and fire arrow combination is a fun thing to use for right now. I think it's a something I would like to rock with for a little bit. Otherwise, when it comes to like the bigger boss and stuff like that, I would rather use someone like Hu Tao to bring in the big nuke. You know, so she's pretty much that sort of character for right now. But otherwise, yeah, Yoimiya is a good character, just like anyone else. I think the whole thing about Yoimiya sucking and stuff like that, being bad, I think it's just people who want to stir up a pot on YouTube for YouTube reasons, which I don't blame them for, but I think people need to realize that she is not bad. I think she's as good as anyone. Does she bring anything special? Is she anyone made of breaking? Absolutely not. But if you have pulled her, it's not definitely, you know, a regrettable pull, I guess you can say. Unless, I guess it really depends on the situation you're in. I mean, did I really need her? Not really, because I already have plenty of pyro DPSs. But I definitely could have used a firebow user who isn't Amber, because I'm not really using Amber. I have not leveled her up ever since, you know, I picked up more characters, unfortunately, because they have not decided to buff Amber at all. Really, it's just ridiculous, but I guess it's just to help sell more characters in the banners, enticing more people to, you know, pull on banners like Yoimiya, for example. I guess that's probably why. Maybe. I don't know, I'm just theorizing, but anyway, either way, to answer the question, I think Yoimiya is just good. She isn't the best, but I don't think she definitely is the worst that people are trying to make out to be, especially during the beginning of things. So as long as you have decent artifacts and you know what you're doing with the character, I think you can have a pretty good build to start with, and then you can roll on from there. Again, I'm using the 2-piece Crimson Witch and the 2-piece Gladiator set, so that's something to start with, I guess. Once I get a better Crimson Witch set, I'll definitely rock the 4-piece for that one. Just because the Vaporize does get a bigger bonus, and of course the Melt, of course. So that is something to take, or something to remember. But otherwise, for what I have right now, I'm pretty happy with it. As long as I have Xingqiu or any support damage on the team, along with everyone else like Bennett and Zhongli. That's pretty much the team I've been rocking with for Yoimiya. So that's just my experience. I do like her. I do like her on the field, and I think she's just cool, you know. So that is my thoughts and opinions and everything else about Yoimiya. I really do like her for the most part. So I'm glad I was able to pull her. I was very happy from the 50-50 pity. So that means I am definitely guaranteed to get the next character, who is pretty much the Raiden Shogun. So very much looking forward to that one whenever she comes out. So anyways, thank you guys so much. This has been my Hawke Talks episode about Yoimiya, my thoughts and everything in between. If you guys have any opinions about Yoimiya, in case you pulled her and everything like that, please share your experiences and comments about Yoimiya down below. I would love to check them out. And it would be much appreciated if you guys can hit the like and subscribe, because it really helps out, and I highly appreciate it, of course, once again. So thank you guys so much for this. Thank you guys so much for tuning in on this episode of the Hawke Talks. I'll see you guys in the next video. Sean out.